All right, we start off with this question because our radio show is actually heard all over the country and all over the world on iHeartMedia. We get a lot of emails from all over the places. Now, Tom sent us this email. He says, my wife and I had an accepted offer on a home in Northern California on Sunday, February 1st. He said the inspection was 2 days later. They spent about $2,000 on inspections all in. So Tom says after the inspection, the homeowner asked us to speak to them in the kitchen for a moment. And then the owners dropped the bombshell saying they had received another offer the day before. And they had people who were now in the first position apparently were buying the house for the same amount of money, but we're going to pay the sellers $50,000 more in cash for the furniture. So he says Tom and his wife were shocked. They're furious. They walked away, $2,000 that they spent out of pocket, no home, and they got to start their search all over again. He says, Tom's wondering, how does this happen? And I'm wondering, could that have even happened? Do they actually have a contract? Because that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I would like to see what this contract said because in general, and particularly in Kentucky and Southern Indiana, once you have signed a contract, it's binding on both people. You could get 100 more offers after that, but those would be backup contracts. They wouldn't be able to supersede the original contract that's already binding. And certainly, if they didn't have a release and the authority from those original buyers to sell to someone else, they at the very least Tom should be getting his money back. That would be the minimum I would expect for this seller to give them. I guess there could be some strange clause in the California contract that allows that, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, I make mention my son Greg has joined us, who does
Been a
our
while.
marketing and photography. Yeah, good to have you back with us. So the real question is, so what was going on there? Because if he had a contract, he should be, without question, able to hold these sellers to the stone here to keep going.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Unless they have some kind of, like I said, unique provision that allows them to take other offers. But I really doubt that because then no contracts would ever be binding.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, this is California. We're here in Louisville where we can't really discuss anything. It could be something different, or it could be that he did not have a binding contract that was written with his agent.
Well, it's interesting. We just had a similar, here in Louisville, Kentucky, we had a land lot for sale. And of course, you know how these things happen. They're sitting on the market forever. And then all of a sudden, multiple offers come in. Well, offer A had been having communications with us and the owner of the property, and there were verbals. And I always looked at Lee with this because she was the one who always taught us our schooling back when we were learning real estate. But there was communications, no signatures. There was some text message and email chain saying, hey, these terms might be acceptable. Hey, why don't you get this drawn up and send it to all parties? And there was a idea and an understanding that party A had terms that were agreeable. Well, party B comes in now with terms and a stronger offer, and we inform party A, hey, there's another offer on the table. And they say, well, wait a second, we had an agreed upon offer. We had discussed it back and forth, but there was nothing signed.
Yes, they had an offer. They didn't have a contract.
Correct. So people think they have contracts when they might not.
That's why it's important to work with a real estate agent. Short and simple. We moved over to Randy Rocky at Swan Financial. Al looking to purchase a home in 2025. And Randy, he wants to know, how can he find out how much home he can afford? He's wondering, is there a guideline or rule for income, how much you can be approved for when buying a home? Randy?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is go to a loan officer and fill out the application. They will verify your income. But as a general rule, on FHA, it's 50% of your income with all your debts included, you can use as far as a pre-approval. So a quick synopsis, if you have $1,000 worth of credit card and car payments, you make $6,000 a month, you have $2,000 that you can have a payment for a house, which is equivalent somewhere to the range around $250,000 to $260,000 on an FHA. Conventional drops a little bit, but that's kind of the general rule. And we can go higher in some situations, VA and some FHA. But the best thing would be is to start out and just go ahead and fill out an application.
Okay, sounds good.
Bob, real quick, funny enough, on that last topic with why you need a buyer or an agent to represent you, buyer A was an unrepresented party, and buyer B was, and buyer A was not. So
there you go.
There you go.
A reminder, if you hear something on the show you want to know more about, you can always email me, bob at WeSellLouisville.com, but you can also see a replay of this show in its entirety by going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That is LouisvilleAnswers.com. It's a redirect to our YouTube channel where the shows will stay for perpetuity, in perpetuity. And that's a good thing. Also, if you're thinking of shopping for a real estate agent like Greg's talking about, you really want to check reviews. We are very proud of our reviews. You can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com and check on the reviews. Compare them to other agents and just see why we're among the top agents in the area. All right, we go back to the phones. Well, I would say phones, but we're in our COVID show, so we're not doing phones right now. Billy writes in, Lee Harris over at Limestone, with the fires out west, he is worried about his home here in Louisville if there are floods this spring, and he's wondering if he has his home listed, he gets a contract on there, and there's a flood. What happens if there's damage, and what happens to the contract? Does it go away? Does it eliminate?
Very good question. So there is a paragraph in the Louisville contract and in most contracts. It's entitled risk of loss. And it might be one of those paragraphs that a lot of people just kind of skim over because they don't think, oh, this isn't going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But the risk of loss in the Louisville contract remains with the seller, meaning if something catastrophic happens during the pendency of the contract, the seller should be carrying insurance. You should not cancel your insurance by any means until you actually have transferred title. The buyer also should try to get a policy for their interest. But during this pendency of this contract, the seller has the risk of loss. So if a flood comes through and destroys the house, the seller can get their agreement with the buyer to use their insurance proceeds to fix it, but the buyer also has the right to void the contract under the GLAR terms and receive their earnest money back. So it is a valid issue because certainly a tornado could come through, a fire could come through, a flood could come through, and you would be bound by that agreement that the seller is at risk that the buyer could void.
So suggestions here, takeaways for our listeners: if you're buying a house, have contact with your insurance agents to have a binder on the house to insure. Or is there something else that needs to be done? I would say maybe the seller make sure that their insurance is up to date and
yes.
Right, just in case something does happen.
Yes, the seller should have their standard insurance policy, whatever they have had. You continue on with that. Don't let it lapse. Make sure you don't cancel it before closing. And the buyer should get a policy to ensure their interest, which is an equitable interest. Once I have a contract on a property that I'm entitled to buy, I have an equitable interest. So my interest can also be insured. It says that in the contract. It recommends that in the contract. A lot of people don't do that as buyers, but I think it's probably a very smart idea.
All right. Incidentally, if you'd like, we do a lot of videos we push out on YouTube and if you want, you can sign up for our free bi-monthly video updates. Go to www.WeSellLouisville.tv. That's WeSellLouisville.tv. Greg, I'm looking back, I'm thinking in the past couple of year or so, when there's a home appraised, we haven't seen low appraisals, under value.
Not recently.
Right? Not recently.
It's not been a trend. It's usually you see the trends happening, but we've not seen it. And Randy could probably speak to that too.
Yeah, I was going to say, Randy, same thing?
I have not seen any, knock on wood. I just did in a long time, actually.
I will also say that there are fewer agents in the industry now than ever because everything's kind of gotten weeded out, which means the best agents are kind of left over. And so there's better agents getting better price points. So that might help too. Not to toot the agent's horn so much, but because appraisals, we've seen it one or two come back low, but usually it's because we knew that home was priced really high to begin.
So
72% of all agents did not close one home last year.
Wow, I did not know that fact.
Yes,
wow.
yes.
I say this because Arnie says in this email to us, we're buying our first home and we're really excited. And then he writes that the appraisal is on Wednesday of this coming week. He says, we're really worried they're going to say it's not worth the amount of money that we offered. They offered $10,000 over asking price. So he says, we can't afford to pay the difference, which would be one suggestion. He says that if the seller is actually a property management company, so he doesn't know if that's good or bad for him and his wife. So he's wondering, what does he do if the appraisal comes in low? Randy, you want to take that? Oh, good, Greg.
I was going to say, a lot of it really just depends, more importantly, on knowing the situation, knowing if there are multiple offers on that home before it came in, where your leverage points are, because even if there was low interest on that home and you got in, if it was sitting on the market multiple days, then you have a little bit more leverage if that appraisal comes back under, and you have to pay, depending on how you wrote the contract, there's appraisal gaps, there's all sorts of things, and Randy get into that.
Right, but he's worried that this is a management company. They will not come down in price. So, Randy, any suggestions on your end on this thing?
I mean, really sincerely in that situation, then they would have to cancel the contract, because if they're not going to come down and they're not going to come with the additional, let's say it's 10,000, then there's really no room, nowhere to go.
So let me give you one other suggestion, and again, it may cost you maybe $400. It's a crapshoot, but it might be worth thinking about. And we did it actually with Swan a couple of 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago. You say to Randy, let's pull out of whatever the loan mortgage company is. Let's go with Randy to pick a place. Another $400 application, and then a new appraiser typically will be assigned. Again, it could roll the dice your way.
Make sure our audience understands the situation, right? You're saying that this is being financed by a loan. The appraisal comes back under, and obviously the lending institution refuses to loan the amount because of the appraisal. We're assuming maybe the offer was cash. If the offer was cash, if you did offer cash, you have nothing to worry about because
no big deal,
it not contingent on appraisal. But again, you should know a lot more going into that situation, because your nerves are going to be based on, well, how many offers were there written at that time? And making sure that if you show up for, as a buyer's agent, you can help show up at the appraisal, and you can help find a list of improvements to try to help. And usually a listing agent should want to do this, but again, it's a management company. So there's a lot of factors that will go into how you're feeling going into that appraisal, so to speak.
Yeah, I would.
And you can dispute the appraisal, but the chances of winning on that are very slim. It just doesn't happen very often.
Better, if you're going to really want this house, go for another mortgage company. Randy sets that up over at Swan. Another $400 for app fee or whatever for the appraisal itself, and as a chance that the new appraiser will give you value if you think it's worth it. So just another suggestion, which is what you were looking for. Coming up a few minutes, 13 or so hidden items in your home that are major fire hazards. Continuing with us as we go to the break, Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. They do a great job shopping the loan to get you the best deal. You can reach Randy and his team, 645-0736. You can pick the closing attorney as well that you want to close your loan. And we really do endorse Lee Harris, Legal Counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee and the folks over at Limestone, 649-7964. My son Greg will continue with us, who does our marketing, photography, and a lot more. And if you're thinking of selling your home, I'd love to be able to talk to you and help you. It's a free, no obligation analysis. You just simply call me, 376-5483 or 376-LIVE, or go to bobsellslouisville.com and click on the link and fill out the form. And the other option is you can also go to WeSellLouisville.com, click at the top of the page on your phone or on your web browser, and we'll give you a free instant analysis from a computer of how much your home is worth. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We are here with you till the top of the hour, continuing with us. My son Greg, who does our marketing and photography and a lot more. Also here with us, Lee Harris. She's legal counsel at Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of closing the loans, getting your loan closed. 649-7964 is her number. Also, Randy Rocky, who's with Swan Financial. They do a great job shopping the loan to get you the best deal, 645-0736. And me, Bob Sokoler. We do a great job of getting your home sold. You heard Barbara Corcoran talk about Greg and myself doing our job. We have a great team, and we'd love to be able to help you. Barbara, of course, is with Shark Tank. She knows her stuff. And so if you'd like to call me, 376-5483 or 376-LIVE, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. And for that free instant analysis, go to its computer, but it works. It gives you a base point. You can go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page on your phone or on your computer. There's a lot of fire hazards. It can be unexpected, but planning and taking precautions can help, and keeping up with cleaning items that are fire hazards is a smart way to approach where we are here in the wintertime. For example, cooking in is a leading cause of fires. Believe it or not. Safety tips: stay in a room while cooking. Know how to put out a grease fire. Have a fire extinguisher. Also, dryer lint. They actually cause 16,000 fires annually, mainly due to lint buildup. The safety tip is to clean the lint trap after each load and the vent pipe yearly. My wife, LaDonna, is a stickler on this thing. After every load of dryer that we put through there. She's in there checking that, and then we got a brush from Amazon that goes down in to pull out whatever potential lint might be trapped down there. She does a great job on that. Also, make sure your smoke alarms are working. Make sure your gas grills, and they cause thousands of fires yearly, keep the grills at least 10 feet away from structures and ensure that they are cool before cleaning. E-bikes, that's a new thing that's in the list this year. E-bikes and lithium ion batteries. Those bikes can cause fires if mishandled because of the batteries. Extension cords, do not overdo those cords. I'm guilty of doing that myself. Cluttering and hoarding, that one I'm not, but excessive
Sure
clutter.
about nonsense.
Yeah, the fire hazard. Faulty wiring is a problem. Old appliances are problems. Oily rags, especially if you're near a furnace that's a gas-powered furnace, oily rags is an absolute disaster. You want to make sure your heating equipment, like gas heaters in the event of a power failure, are properly serviced. Sleeping with the door open is actually a bad thing. An open bedroom door increases fire risks if a fire occurs outside the room. If the door is closed, you get an extra couple of minutes to get out of the house, hopefully through the window. And the space heaters are also a difficult thing to deal with. So those are some of the tips that we suggest you keep an eye on over the rest of this winter as we go into the spring, and sooner than later, I hope. Yeah, right? Lee Harris, Limestone Title. Bonnie sent us an email asking for advice. She says she needs reassurance if it's normal to be absolutely terrified of buying a house. Greg, you'll want to jump in on this. She says there's so much paperwork, and she's looked at over 100 houses, and she found a house she says she absolutely loves, put an offer in, got it accepted, so they're under contract, but they're really worried. Bonnie is extremely anxious. She's lost sleep, and she wonders, is this normal? So, Lee, what would you say about the paperwork? Let's start there.
Well, yes, I hear that a lot, that there is a lot of paperwork. There's contracts and disclosures, and there's loan applications, and there's inspection reports. And yes, it could add up to 1,000 pages probably by the time you're all the closing documents included. So, but every one of those pages probably is 100% necessary. And they're all added in there to the contract and to the closing documents and to the inspection reports and all of that to protect you as the buyer, to make sure that everything is just so, to make sure that your interest is going to be protected all the way through your ownership of that property. That said, it is intimidating and it is daunting to have to sign a lot of documents because it's a lot to read, it's a lot to comprehend, it's a lot to take in. And I don't think your feelings are any different than probably most home buyers because it is a huge purchase, right? It's a lot of money. You've probably putting some skin in the game with your savings and your time and your energy. And so, yes, I think a lot of people do feel hesitant about it in that way. But
especially go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, but look at all the people around you and how many have bought homes and about 99.99% of the time, everything's just A-okay. So that should make you feel reassured.
Greg?
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of first-time home buyers that have the jitters, and I'm assuming this is a first-time home buyer when you're that nervous. Some people are just nervous. That's okay. I'm nervous. But at the end of the day, every one of those pieces of paper is being created because of somebody who thought they knew something and something went wrong, and now you have to have it in writing and make sure that you're safeguarded. And hopefully your agent who's coaching you along the way is giving you the ideas in a playbook and being your coach to help guide you and be there for you when you're mentally stressed out and helping fix those stress points. I always equate it also to like my golf game. I've got a golf swing coach, right? But then I'll go watch YouTube and Instagram, and I've got all these people telling me that I should be doing something else. And the housing market's the same way. You've got tons of people getting on the internet saying, oh, well, what about this? And worry about that and worry about this. But if you listen to them versus the person that's in your corner, things can go wrong. So just make sure you're relying and you get a good agent, and go back to that, why that's important to hire a good agent to help guide you through the process and cut out the noise and focus on what you need to do.
And I would tell you, Bonnie, that in this current market that we're in, think of the worst thing that could happen. Maybe you move into the house and you don't like it. You say, I got to get out of here. Well, the good news is you're going to be able to sell it, break even most likely, and if not, make money off of it. So there's really a big plus, right, Brandy?
Absolutely. And you know, we went up again 5.2% in appreciation in 2024. They're predicting 5% in 2025. So you'll be fine. I agree with you, Bob.
Yep. It happens to everybody. It's called buyer's remorse. But once you're past it, you'll look back in a year, you'll go, I don't know why I was ever losing any sleep. It's the best thing that's ever happened. I felt that way when my very first house was, I think it was back in 1978. Am I dating myself? Yeah. And I've loved owning homes ever since. A reminder, if you are looking for a rebroadcast, if you want to hear this or see this show again, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. LouisvilleAnswers.com will take you to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see what sellers are saying about us physically at the closing table, go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. All right, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. Penny's having a problem with her builder's loan officer. So apparently she's buying new construction. She's a first-time home buyer. She says that she went through a few scenarios with the builder's loan officer because the loan officer for this builder was giving them some freebie stuff that goes through if you go with the company that the builder works with. But apparently it appeared to be too much to ask. She says, I told him that I had a lot of questions, and he said he didn't have time at the moment for answers. So Penny's wondering, is this a standard experience with builders' preferred lenders? Is there any way to run the numbers in an online calculator to see how these scenarios play out? She said, can I also shop the loan around? Other companies, like maybe I would suggest Swan Financial. Randy?
Yes, and I hear this a lot because I guess they take for granted that these people are going to come to them because they're getting an incentive from the builder to close with them. But in a lot of situations, we still beat their rate and beat their closing costs. So I suggest she shops around, and then she can make an educated decision on which loan company she's going to go with.
Good answer. Listen, if you're thinking of selling your home, switching from a buying side to selling side, we have a free no obligation booklet. It has hundreds of useful tips. Simply send me an email. It's free of charge, no obligation. Bob@WeSellLouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject line, hit that send button, and I will send that out to you via email almost immediately as soon as I get it. Lee Harris over at Limestone Title. Sonny emailed me. He has a home on the market, and after a showing 3 weeks apparently ago, several items were taken. And he's wondering, he can't find them. He doesn't know, he doesn't have any proof. He's wondering what he can do about a potential theft.
Okay, so it's just like any other theft. If you feel like someone has come into your home or come into your car or whatever and has taken your items, the first thing you should do is contact the police, make a report. They'll probably come over there and you could give them the facts. They may say, oh, well, you let people in your house because you had an open house, or you let people in here because you had a showing or whatever. So they might not take it as seriously as a break-in, but it's good to have that police report because you could, at some point, somebody could say, hey, your stuff is over here at this pawn shop, or, we found somebody who's been going to open houses and stealing stuff, and we found your stuff, and then you'd be on record and you might be able to get your items back. But it's certainly, and nobody's allowed to come in your house and steal things, whether they are there for a real estate showing or not.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, though, too, again, important to have a licensed agent so that there's somebody who actually cares about the situation and can possibly help you, and they're vetting people that are coming into your home and just not letting everyday Joe Schmoes in. Also, if you've got your home on the market and you've got valuables, we always say remove them, take them with you, put them in a safe.
Yep.
Get cameras, put cameras around. I mean,
cameras.
if you're going to be opening your home up, even in the best case scenario with the best agents, you can't cover all scenarios. So make sure you do everything that you can. If things are important, move them. If you're worried about specific rooms, put cameras in them. They're relatively inexpensive. If most people have internet, you can go to Best Buy and pick one up pretty easy, set it up, and then you can have a little bit more relaxation period during this time.
That goes for your medications too, because sometimes people want to get in there to take your medications.
And Sonny, one more thing. Contact your agent who you've listed your home with and have him reach out to the buyer's agent. The buyer agent will reach out to the buyer. Not pointing any fingers, but just let it be known, hey, something came up missing. Could it be something possible that maybe your son or daughter or somebody with you took it accidentally?
Well, in one of our sellers recently, they had somebody coming in and out of their home. It was for contractor work from the buyer was bringing in, and the seller had camera set up, and we saw one of the contractors subs, whoever was working on that project that day in a very high price point home, rifling through some things, and it was caught on camera. So you never know. But we caught it, and the seller caught it, and we contacted the vendors immediately, and that person was terminated immediately. So you got to be on top of it. Not everything's perfect. Control what you can.
We are out of time. My thanks, of course, to Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. They do a great job of shopping your loan, getting you the best rate. You can reach Randy and the folks over at Swan, 645-0736. Also, Thank you, Lee Harris, Legal Counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. They are phenomenal for getting your loan closed. They do other things as well, including wills, which are so important. If you'd like to talk to Lee, and this is her cell phone, not only for those of you who are just the general public listening, but also for other agents who are listening, you need some legal advice, you can reach out to Lee at 649-7964. My thanks to my son Greg, who does our marketing and photography. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to be able to talk to you. It's a free, no obligation analysis. You hopefully know that we work not only in the Louisville, the surrounding area, but also southern Indiana. And there's no home too big and no home too small. You can reach me anytime. I try to answer it all the time on my cell phone, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com, click on the form and fill it out. And then you could also get a free instant analysis by going to WeSellLouisville.com and clicking at the top of the page. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.